Welcome back to Truck Central. Mr. Justin Wheeler here with the 2019 Ram 1500 Limited High Mileage Edition, or you could call it the Extremely Dirty Edition. Either one apply. Today we're going to be talking about tires. Our friends over at Real Truck hooked us up with a new and fresh set because what we were rolling with before were just not cutting it anymore. They wore out a little faster than I had hoped. But fear not, we have a new set. No, not this one. This is an old one. These are the new ones. I do want to say thank you to Real Truck. Again, they are the sponsor this season. So after the video, head on over to realtruck.com. Now, I know that I said when it was time to replace the Toyo Open Countries, I was going to go with something that I hadn't had before. I said that, and at the time, I meant it, but that was when I was still kind of early on in the Toyos and before they started to prematurely wear. And what I realized is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I went back with the Nitto Ridge Grapplers, 305, 45, 22, and they are what I had. They were my second set on this truck. The factory tires were just absolute rubbish. I got maybe 45,000 out of them before we had to upgrade to the Ridge Grapplers, which we got 80,000 miles out of. And this was one of those. I actually picked up a nail that couldn't, in the sidewall that couldn't be repaired. Actually, no, this is the one that picked up a nail. I drove on it flat for a while, and I ended up damaging the inside of it. No fault to the tire. That was my own stupidity, so I'll take the heat for that. What you can see here, though, is a very even tread wear, which is one of the reasons that we had to replace the Toyos when we did. Now, this tire is not a pavement princess. It pulls lots of trailers. It had tons of highway miles, but it also had lots of gravel road usage. And you expect any tire you get to be able to handle getting you from A to B, even if you cross a gravel road. But a lot of all-terrain or mud-terrain tires that have a really soft compound, you can see them chunk. These tires have absolutely zero chunking or chipping away of the lugs. That is huge. There's nothing worse than getting a new set of tires and losing a lug or two before you've even gotten 10, 20,000 miles. So I was very happy with the way that these performed on the gravel, on the sand, on hard pack, on with trailering and not losing any meat. But these aren't the first Nittos that I've had. You know, there are pros and cons to putting as many miles on a vehicle as I do. But one of the benefits are that you get a much greater exposure to different tires, good and bad. And I think that I'm probably closing on the 1 million mile mark on the Nitto name alone. I've had the Mud Grapplers, the Trail Grapplers, obviously the Ridge Grapplers, and I've had the Terra Grapplers. All are great in their own right. Now, I wouldn't recommend the Mud Grapplers unless it's an off-road vehicle. Those are extremely heavy and loud on the road, and you're not going to get nearly as much wear out of them. The Trail Grapplers are great for what they are. They're a mud terrain tire, and they do fantastic in the mud. They are real shit diggers. And I ran those. I've had many sets of those, but really I never could run them more than 50, 60,000 miles. Now, on the other end of the spectrum is the Nitto Terra Grappler. It is a great all-terrain tire, much more highway focused than the mud, trail, or ridge, of course. But the benefit to that is it performs well in most conditions, and they last a really, really long time. I had over 120,000 miles on a single set of Nitto Terra Grapplers. Now, I didn't do as much towing in those days. It was mostly highway travel, but for a highway tire to get that much life and to also be able to dip off into the mucky stuff is a pretty fair compromise. Now, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details about why I chose the Nitto Ridge Grappler over the Coopers or the Falcons or all the other great tires that are out there, you know, I could look at every one of these tires and analyze the siping and the lugs and the tread pattern and the sidewall until I'm blue in the face. But really what it came down to was I was going back to what I'm familiar with, what I trust, and what I know is a great tire, and that is this guy. You can't really tell it here because we just got done playing in the mud. But one of the cool things about the Nitto line is that they have a dual sidewall. And I didn't know that at first. I actually had a few sets before I realized it. What that means is, on this side of the tire, you have a more, I don't know what you want to call it, traditional look, squarish, luggy. And on this sidewall is a little bit more aggressive, kind of grabs your attention style sidewall, and they can be flip-flopped. You can have them either way you want it. So when you go and get these tires, make sure to tell the guys that are mounting and balancing which side you want. Now, they both look good. The side I have displayed here is the slightly more aggressive side. I just think it's a meaner look, which is, I think, one of the benefits to the Nittos. Not all all-terrain tires offer that. It's worth mentioning that this is not a true all-terrain tire. Nitto calls this a hybrid between the mud and the all-terrain, and it really does a good job of balancing between the two. I've taken this thing all over the country, whether it be snow and ice, or whether you find yourself having to dip off through a pretty deep hole full of water and slippery, slimy muck. These tires have done a really good job of performing well and never, ever getting me stuck. I will say, I've admitted this one other time, I did need to be pulled out of a situation once, but I was on a downhill, icy slope, and without some sort of studs, it doesn't matter what kind of tire you have, you're not going to get out of that situation. So these have been really, really good. One cool thing about this tire compared to a true mud terrain tire like the Trail Grappler, this specific tire compared to an equivalently sized Trail Grappler weighs about 50% less. So it's lighter, it's going to be better on fuel economy, it should last longer, and it is also significantly quieter. Not just than a mud grappler, these tires are actually a lot quieter than my open country, my Toyos that I had on before this. And at the end of the day, tires are expensive. So not only do you need them to work well, but you need them to last a long time. If I can get 80,000 miles out of these like I did the last set, I'm going to be in pretty good shape. The Toyos, the open countries, they performed really well, and those were actually the 3-peak snowflake rating, a true tested and certified snow tire, where this is not. It just didn't hold up as long. 60,000 miles is not enough. I would rather take the chance without the snow rating and get an extra, 20,000 miles out of my tires, a few months worth. A lot of people ask, why did you go with the 305 45 22? You could fit bigger tires on the stock platform, and you technically can cram 33s, maybe 35s on here, but just know that you're going to be grinding and rubbing, and that's not something I want to mess with. Even at this size, there is a tiny bit of rubbing at full lock in the normal ride height. And there's definitely rubbing if you're in the low entry exit mode. So if you're slammed all the way down and you're backing up to hook up a trailer and turning around, it rubs a pretty decent amount. So yes, you can go bigger, but this is the perfect balance between keeping it all stock. So if you're in the market for a new set of tires and you want something that lasts a long time, is very capable, and is quiet, this is a fantastic setup. Nitto also has a line called the Recon now that is slightly less aggressive, maybe a little more quiet, maybe better in some applications that I haven't tried yet. I'd be willing to try those next. If it's got the Nitto name, I know I'll like it. But I haven't looked at those yet. If you have tried those, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about them. And one final thank you to Real Truck. We appreciate you hooking us up with these new Nittos. If you find yourself looking for a new set of tires, head on over to realtruck.com and get yourself a set of Ridge Grapplers. Leave me a comment down below. I look forward to talking to you. And as always, thanks for watching.